Hello, Speakettes. I'm Nisa. I'll be your host for today. Here at Speak, we've always advocated for respect for our earth, and we're proud to incorporate that into the brand, whether it's using recyclable materials for our packaging or donating $1 for every product sold. Now, Earth Day will be celebrated tomorrow, and what better time it is to chat about environmental matters with our special guest, Susan Stevens, environmental advocate and founder of Made with Respect. Susan, could you please introduce yourself to our lovely community?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. Basically, I launched Made with Respect, and our mission, we're very passionate about being part of the solution, that helps lead the change from destructive consumption towards more conscious consumerism. So with Made with Respect, we brought together a curated collection of some of the world's most beautiful handcrafted sustainable brands, and we partner with them because they have an immense respect for craftsmanship, for people, and also for the future health of our planet.
And that's also what attracted us to partner with you guys. Okay, so let's start. Susan, news around COVID-19 has been the primary news cycle these days, and even for the last few months, and it's constantly on people's minds, and it's already stressful enough. Why do you think discussions about the environment and climate change still needs to happen?
Yeah, well, look, none of us, I think, would have thought a couple of months ago that we would all be confined to our homes and battling this global pandemic. And I think, this crisis has reached into everyone's life. It's really exposed our vulnerabilities, and it's been incredibly challenging for everyone. But what I think COVID-19 has proven is that our health and well-being is what's most important. And although coronavirus and climate change are different, I think ultimately the outcome is the same, and that for ourselves and our future generations, for all of us to continue to thrive, the planet and its ecosystems also need to thrive. And so we often find it hard, I think, also as humans, we do often find it hard to understand how something that will happen in the future will affect us if it isn't an immediate danger. And as a result, we end up questioning whether it's valid, and we often downplay the outcome, even if there's conclusive research suggesting otherwise. So unlike with climate change, this virus has exploded into our lives, and we've really had to face it head on. And so we've had to make changes, and we've had to adapt. But with climate change, it's a much slower burn. And, we can afford to ignore the consequences of our actions that we're doing today, because it's not having that immediate impact on us. But I believe that climate change is equally destructive, and I think we should be even more concerned as at the moment, what will be life-changing with coronavirus is that we eventually will get a vaccine, and we will be able to slowly go back to living the lives that we're used to living. But there'll never be a vaccine for climate change once we've gone past that tipping point where we've destroyed the resources and it's hard for them to replenish. Then we face a quite a difficult outcome. So what we need to realise is that our everyday ordinary choices have an extraordinary impact on our planet, and I think the fact that we are living in this isolation, we're beginning to understand that beyond our basic needs, which is essentially access to water, food, medical help and attention, and being out, we're also understanding the importance of getting out and about in the clean, fresh air, and having that ability to move freely around within the environment, and also obviously having our loved ones close. Apart from that, really everything else that we do is excessive. And I think wanting more and more, and the fact that we're always looking for bigger and for better, and none of that is sustainable. None of that behavior is sustainable.
This situation has definitely forced all of us to put up a mirror and kind of reflect on our actions and what our impacts are. It might seem like our action individually is small, but collectively it can be very stressful for the environment itself. Yeah. And what do you think is the best way to talk about sustainability without being too preachy?
Yeah, look, I think the key to change and is education, which I think is why I'm so passionate about it with Made with Speak, and what we're doing a lot of is pushing out content. And like anything, if we aren't properly informed, it makes it really difficult to understand, in the case of climate change, what the fuss is all about. So it's important that we do talk about sustainability, and it is important that we have open conversations about climate change and consumerism. The problem is that it is perceived as a daunting problem, but I don't think we can let fear rule it. I think we need to be inspired to find alternative ways of living in order to live a better life. So where do we start? Well, we start by talking about why it matters. Some of us are parents. Some of us enjoy hiking or biking, enjoy being in the outdoors. My family like going to the beach. So we really appreciate that, the water and that it's not polluted, and that we don't have plastic bottles washing up on the sand. Even if you care about the economy or our security, because these are all relevant to living a more sustainable life.
Okay, so live it, experience it, and be an example for other people as well.
And I think that's the beauty of being in the situation that we are now, is we're getting to experience how life can change so dramatically when with something, all of a sudden it just happened, and there was nothing we could do about it. We had to adapt. So but we know that there's a chance that we can go back to similar way of living once we get a vaccine for it. So it's a really good opportunity for us to really use this time to reflect, and I'm hoping that we can come out the back end of it with governments and companies and people just being a little bit more just being a little bit more aware of that those vulnerabilities do exist.
So how do you think we can use this time as an opportunity to live sustainably now?
Well, I think, whilst we're sitting at home contemplating what the world may look like, and that how COVID-19 has changed things quite dramatically, I think, we must also assess the role that each of us play in society. And, we've really got to dig deep to look at our past behaviours, and, whether there's reason to change some of the ways that we do things. I think we need to ask ourselves, what does tomorrow look like? I think we need to take this opportunity to contemplate our future and to potentially reset, to be open to new ways of thinking, and to be open to embracing a more sustainable lifestyle. We rely on the environment for food, for medicine, for general health and well-being. So, it's an integral part of everything that we do. So we have to protect it.
Yeah. And as you said, things are going to change, and from there on, we're definitely going to be seeing major shifts in consumption patterns overall after all of this. How can we do better when this is over?
Yeah, look, I think as a human population, we exploit more than 70% of the earth. And we're affecting the climate, and we're leaving little room for nature to thrive. So our constant and growing demand on natural resources is already leading to deforestation, degraded soils. We've got polluted air, water, polluted fresh water, polluted ocean. There's been a dramatic decline in plant and animal species, and some of them are threatened with extinction. So that impact of our actions is creating an unstable climate. And I mean, coronavirus has even shown that, with the fact that everything has been shut down, in China, that the skies are clearer. In Venus, there's been the water there is clearer, and they're seeing wildlife that they've never seen. So we need to really realise that the way that we have always lived in recent years is having a dramatic effect on the environment around us. But I think the problem is that we have a reluctance to see what's happening as a result of our behaviour and habits. And I think sometimes we can accept that these volatile climates are just the norm, or are becoming our new norm, as opposed to going, looking at it and going, well, what are we doing to create this? I think it's much easier for us to just for the population to just kind of accept that this is just what happens. I think the harsh reality is that we are the problem, or we certainly do add to the problem, and our planet is changing rapidly. As I said, I think nature's dying. And it's our excessive consumers and consumption behaviour that is not adding to, it's having a negative impact, not a positive. So living more sustainably is about making small choices. It is about becoming aware of the choices that we're making. And it is being open to being educated, and not being ignorant, but improving, looking at how we can make a positive impact, and how we can look at the way that we consume. And I think, another problem that we have is that people often think that it has to be solved by governments or large corporations. It's really not going to make a difference on the bigger scale of things, because I'm just one person. So how can one person make change? So I think that sometimes is a reality as well, is that it's too big a problem for just me. But I think we all make a huge impact just by changing the way that we think and adjusting our lifestyles, because the impact of every one of us, as you mentioned earlier, collectively would have an impact and would have a benefit to the health of our planet. We're just more responsible by becoming more conscious consumers, and each one of us is doing that, and each one of us, or even not all of us, but some of us, if some of us are, or the majority of us are making small steps and creating some momentum. When you create momentum, you create change. And from my perspective, any change has got to be better than no change. It's not about striving to be perfect, because I'm certainly not perfect, but it's just about being more conscious of what we do. And so, we realised there's a lot of things that we were doing in our household that could be making a difference. It could be helping the environment. And, if we had every household thinking a little bit more like that, then, you don't have to be perfect, but it's going to be beneficial. So I think, alongside, and this is twofold as well, because alongside the efforts of us as individuals, businesses are also need to be involved, and they must reconsider their operations. They need to be looking at how they can adopt a more sustainable business model. Is there an opportunity for them to invest in renewable resources? And can they address overproduction, and even revisit the way that their mentality, and that growth, the idea that, often in the business environment, it's the idea that growth happens by producing more. If we produce more, we sell more, we make more money. Mm-hmm. So, whereas I think instead we need to start supporting sustainable brands who are not driven purely by profit. And, as consumers of products and services, we hold considerable power, with what we do. If we stop buying from those brands that don't care, then they will start listening to us, because they do want to sell product, and they do want to make money. But we need to be supporting those brands that are not just driven by profit; they're a purpose-driven business as well.
Yeah, I'm actually also really happy to see more businesses giving back, whether it's to society or to the environment, and they've built that into the business values itself. So as they grow, they're also helping enrich other stakeholders itself. And when we think about who stakeholders are, it's not necessarily just shareholders or customers, it's the suppliers and everyone else along the value chain, and how they can also benefit in the growth positively.
Exactly. So, we're talking about change, and I think, meaningful. Some might say, well, what does meaningful change look like? So, it can be as simple as buying fresh and local, in terms of which encourages a small environmental footprint. It's just about being more mindful about recycling and upcycling. To keep those unused or unwanted items out of landfill. And then also, the other thing that we need to be aware of is when we produce stuff, it consumes energy. So the more and more stuff that is produced for a growing population, whether that's fast fashion or a smartphone, it means that we have an ongoing reliance on fossil fuels, and that creates massive pollution issues for our planet. So, buy something, it sometimes simply is asking, it's a simple question, is asking yourself, do I really need this? I think we need to be more mindful to move away from that, for the businesses to move away from that make, use and dispose mentality, and for consumers to start making more conscious choices. We could be buying better and buying less. We can still buy things, but rather than buying 5 cheap t-shirts in every colour, buy one good one that's going to last you a lot longer. So it's just, being more mindful. Animal agriculture is a leading cause of species extinction, and it has water pollution, habitat destruction, and there's a lot of things animal agriculture does that contributes to the pollution. So we as a family, we started reducing consumption of meat and dairy, and I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to become vegan or vegetarian, but it's just about maybe eating less of it. And that in itself will make a significant impact to your footprint, and that is something that you can do instantly, and it does have a direct and positive impact. Another thing is avoiding fast fashion, and as I said earlier, rather than buying one of everything, make sure that you plan your wardrobe better, and you buy good quality materials that can be worn over and over, and they're not made by, for instance, the polyesters where microfiber plastics and fibers into the waterway. So it's just about, again, kind of being conscious. And I think something that my family and I, we took on is that instead of spending money on unnecessary things, our focus became more about spending time, and if it meant money as well, but on experiences, creating really rich memories for ourselves and our kids. And they're going to last a whole lot longer than if we spent the weekends in the mall buying stuff. On our website, we've actually got a 31 days of sustainable habits challenge, and it's if you look on the if I'm right, if you look on the menu, it's under Explore and MWR, and under there link, and it just takes you to a daily examples of how you can implement these sort of meaningful change.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
starting, it's about sort of starting somewhere. I think that's the biggest thing, is once we start, and then it's as I said earlier, it's about creating that momentum. Mm-hmm. And then, and 31 days is a great way to kind of just implement it. As I've also said, it's not about, making significant changes that are going to, really impact on the way we live. It's just about making, sort of some more conscious decisions. Mm-hmm. Instead of buying a plastic toothbrush, buy a wooden one. That's not going to impact your life too much.